Hello Exiles, this is Ryan from Behind Eyes Gaming and welcome to another Path of Exile video. In today's video I'm going to go over last league's league starter, talk about whether or not it's still viable, and that is my Physical Trapper that I did, Saboteur. I have my Physical Trapper from last league. I played it for the first like 3 or 4 days, then didn't touch it again, so it's wearing the exact same gear it was wearing. I'll kind of talk about I'm going to do a map with it and talk about the changes that are going to be needed to be made as far as the skill gem links. So one of the kind of nerfs to this build is that the shadow area is losing 20% area of effect. And Seismic Trap scales very heavily off having high AoE because then you can have multiple of the different waves hit the same target. So having lower AoE is actually a huge detriment. So we were already running advanced traps, which is huge. It's an enormous skill gem. You need to be running this as a support as far as Seismic Trap. It does so much. Increased duration, increased trap throwing speed, which means it pulses faster, so it's basically attack speed. And then 104% in this case, I think it goes up to like 105% increased cooldown recovery rate for throwing traps. And considering Seismic Trap has a cooldown, I'll show you right now. It's pretty short, but you get 4 of them pulsing. They last for a very long time, and by time they are done pulsing, you're basically ready to throw a new batch out. In fact, beforehand. And if you cycle through these well enough, you can have like 5 or 6 of them. And in fact, we're getting more duration scaling in a sense. So literally, actually, not even in a sense, we're literally getting a more multiplier to skill duration. So when I go over the new tree, I'll talk about that mastery because it's pretty important. But yeah, as far as the gear, I'm wearing the Deer Stalker that I literally bought like 3 hours into the last league. I never changed out of these. I have Exsanguinate, Cluster Trap, Trap and Mind Damage, and Chain. These worked just fine for clearing all the way through. I'm going to do a tier 14 Atoll here. Then I have a 5-link Tinker Skin that I got on like day 1, maybe early day 2. Then I have Seismic Trap linked with Life Tap, which I'll talk about in a second, and then Advanced Traps, and we're Brutality and Increased AoE. And Increased AoE is the new thing we're adding here, so we're losing 20% area of effect. I decided why not just run Increased AoE. Seismic Trap does an absurd amount of damage. I'm going to show you what it does with 3 utility links and only 1 actual damage link here, but Seismic Trap's so good, guys. If you haven't tried it, it's so insane. You know, I knew from the buffs last time, and I do have a wand that could be pretty expensive, but just run Cold Iron Point. Then you don't need the +1 on your shield. It'll be nice if you do, but you don't need it. You don't need a shield like this. This is like you can get a better statted shield if you don't have to get the +1 to all physical spell skill gem levels. So yeah, you can just run a Cold Iron Point and you're fine. And then I do have an enchant on my helmet. The helmet's pretty good, I guess. It's got a lot of life and then, you know, a lot of resistances. Like this is all gear I had on day like 3 or 4. So this is pretty good gear. I'm not going to lie, but it is attainable early on. This ring, this influenced ring it isn't even taking advantage of the influence. It's still good, obviously. It's got a lot of good stats on it, but and then I have blast radius here because area is crazy important. So same thing with the new tree. You're probably going to want to pick up blast radius or amplify when you scale that. But yeah, I'm just going to jump in, kind of show how it works with the increased AoE against the higher bosses here, and then we'll talk about it. So this should be a pretty gnarly map. It's got a lot of mods. I didn't actually look what the mods were. I think we're fine for everything except for like no recovery maps. But yeah, Exsanguinate Trap is incredible for clear. Hey, that would be a nice start, huh? Get a Belly of the Beast right away. New league. Essence of Woe. But yeah, the clear is so good. Once again, I'm only running 1 so I'm running Cluster Traps and Chain. So I'm not actually running, I think I'm running one just trap and mind damage for damage links on the Exsanguinate. Doesn't matter. If you've ever played Chain Exsanguinate or Chain Exsanguinate traps, it's so crazy. It's so good. I'll just leave that alone right now. I just want to kind of get to the boss. It just clears the whole screen all the time. It's just the best. It feels so great. So and nothing has changed with Exsanguinate. So yeah, this is still going to be one of the nuttier possible setups you can have. So you just walk through, keep Exsanguinate trapping, and then as far as the bosses go, you walk up, gonna toss a bear trap, gonna toss all your seismic traps, gonna throw vulnerability on there, throw some regular traps, keep throwing seismic traps. Yeah, it still melts the boss pretty quick, and that is with literally just brutality. You do get a little bit more damage with life tap, so it's not all utility, but it's mostly utility. It's not like a huge more multiplier or anything. So yeah, I just wanted to show that. And yeah, you get the idea. I don't need to go through the whole rest of the map. I'll just pop back into town. Yeah, I wouldn't mind a Belly of the Beast real quick on. Obviously, this is from a tier 14 map, but boy, not too bad. Excuse me. So, as far as the changes, we are losing a lot of stuff besides the area of effect. So we're not getting the AoE from the Lethal Assault area. I would probably pick up this one normally as well. We are not going to have dodge or spell dodge anymore. Instead, we're going to get spell suppression, and we're going to have to take advantage of that. And also, as a default, we have blind. Current blind is going to be a lot better than the new blind, but to compensate, Born in Shadows will now give 15% reduced damage taken from blinded enemies and the new tree. So that's actually pretty big. So let me go over the new tree with you here. So same thing, Saboteur. We're going to be running, Pyromaniac first, and then Perfect Crime, and then Born in the Shadows, and then Chain Reaction. Chain Reaction is going to give us the biggest boost of DPS because it's going to give cooldown recovery and AoE, but usually you do need the defensive utility of Blind. Actually, though, now that Blind has been nerfed, maybe you get this fourth. I'll have to think about it and test it a little bit. I mean, I can't test it beforehand, but... And actually, I won't be able to... I guess I'll be able to test it by going on to Standard, but yeah. That's going to be a big deal. So what are we doing for defenses instead? Got a 100% chance to suppress spells, and we have block chance. We could invest into a little bit more block chance, but unfortunately, most of the good block chance stuff is either for dual wielding. You get some dual wielding block chance. This one has shield, so, but it also is an attack node, so it's kind of hard there. Yeah, it's difficult to get good block nodes without going way down into this area. So that's the hard part. There used to be a nice block node here, but I believe it is no longer here. So yeah, unfortunately the block node that was here, because one of the benefits of Acro Phase Acro being gone is you no longer get your dodge and energy shield, or your block and energy shield cut in half. So that means you have the potential to do some other interesting stuff with it. One option too, we can run Ghost Dance. Ghost Dance is a possibility. As you can see on my current build, I do have some energy shield, and my energy shield could be basically fully replenished. That would help with, it's not a huge amount of ES, but it is going to be a little bit of a life buffer, and it should quite frequently proc, or at least like we should be able to get it to where 3% of our evasion rating is roughly going to be equal to our energy shield pretty easily. Like right here, I haven't really put in good gear yet. In fact, I think I have pretty mediocre gear. I always just throw the Gull in because it's like an evasion energy shield hybrid with high ES and high life. So even though it's not an ideal helmet, I always just throw it onto builds because it's pretty attainable, and you can get, it's just got good stats. Like if you get a Gull early on, it's usually pretty good for these kinds of builds. Then I have Deerstalker and Cold Iron Point like I talked about, but the rest of the gear I put on here, I just put like life, ES, life, ES. I put some dexterity, and I'll talk about that. So as you can see, I have 387 dexterity. I think for the setup I have right now, I am using the new Mage Bane. in order to get maximum spell suppression, because I'm not wanting to invest a whole lot of points in spell suppression, even though I could. And that means you need about 380 dex. You get a lot though without gear, but you need like the last 100 or so. You get like 280-ish without any gear, and then you get the last 100 dex combined on all of your different things. And if you get some all attributes, which will help you with other skill gems and stuff, it's not too hard to get it. If you get like a citrine amulet here, you're getting your strength and dexterity. You need a certain amount of strength for some of the support gems like brutality anyway, and exsanguinate and pride. So that's one thing to consider. But yeah, basically the skill tree is when you're leveling, you'll go explosive trap into lightning trap, and you'll go through coordination, through blood siphon, up through trickery, head straight up to expeditious munitions. Once you get expeditious munitions, difficult to say, you'll get trap mastery with the increased trap trigger area of effect, or you can get the trap mastery with recover 30 life when your trap is triggered by an enemy. Basically, if you get the 60% increased, you don't really need the extra recovery that much in the early game. Usually your life flasks are fine. What this will give you is the ability to basically not have to aim your traps at all. You can just throw them in the general direction, and you'll have so much trap trigger radius. You have 20 here, 20 here, 50 here, and 60 here. That's a lot. That's 150% increased trap trigger radius. Yeah, that's huge. Then you grab Cold-Hearted Calculation. Then you go through the physical damage, your Will of Blades, up through Fangs of the Viper. You can get Resourcefulness right away because the extra life on kill will be nice as well. And it does give you some life, energy, shield, and spell suppress. Then you go through the life here, get these trap nodes. Clever Construction's really good because it's new on here. It used to be a jewel, I believe. And it still may be. I don't know if they disabled it. I didn't see that in the patch notes. But you have a chance to trigger traps an additional time both here and here. So now it's 35%. That's pretty good. You're throwing 3 traps a lot of times. Basically, that's a guaranteed, like, one of your traps will trigger a second time. So it's basically like an extra trap throw, which is huge. Unstable Munitions has been moved up to this portion of the tree, which is going to give you area of effect. It's the same amount of area of effect, though, so it doesn't make up for the AoE loss that we have in the Shadow Tree. And then we are going to go... I don't usually get Hasty Construction just yet. I mean, if you're around the time you're going to get Seismic Trap in Act 3, you can pop up and get this and then get Written in Blood, which is fine. Otherwise, you just pop down here, pick up like these life nodes here. Master Sapper is very good. Frenzy charges are huge. Very useful to get that for the more damage multiplier. I got Trap Mastery with 5% chance to throw additional traps, which is pretty big. As far as the Evasion Mastery, you don't have to get this at all, but if you do want to stack Evasion, which you'll kind of have to, you'll probably want to get 100% increased Evasion rating from your body armor, and then make sure you have a very high Evasion body armor at every point. Could be big. Tinker's Skin does not have an insane amount of evasion, but it has a respectable amount of evasion. I have 1183 on mine currently, so it's not too bad. And then from there, you just want to head through here, grab the suppression stuff, and I would ignore this life thing here, and I would ignore the duration for now. Just head straight through this, pick up the 50 life mastery, and then make sure you get all of this physical stuff up here. As far as the physical mastery, I think Overwhelm is going to be the best. Overwhelm 15% physical damage reduction. You can also get 40% increased physical damage with skills that cost life. Because I'm using Life Trap with the Seismic Trap, this will also apply to that as well as the Exsanguinate. So I'm using my life to fuel all of my traps. But Overwhelm is going to give you more damage, I think, against most enemies, especially bosses. So you're probably going to want to go with that. Doesn't Overwhelm. So here we have 64,000 average hit compared to 61. So I guess according to POB at least. Oh, I don't have boss selected though. So if I go over and select as the enemy a boss, and say it's like, let's say Shaper Guardian. I don't know if let's say we're fighting Cirrus. let's say we're fighting Sirius. Which one's going to give us more? We have the Overwhelm, which puts us from 47 to 50, almost 52. And then, okay, so against bosses, we definitely want the Overwhelm, which is what I would have guessed. I wanted to double check my math there. So, and after that, pop down here, grab this stuff, start getting suppression. Inveterate is going to be really nice. You want some spell suppression. This will give you another 10%, assuming your boots, helmet, and gloves have evasion, so just make sure that's the case. Life Mastery gives a reduced life cost of skills. All of our skills are going to cost life. We get some more suppression here, Quick Step, and Intuition as well. And then we start filling out like the less important stuff, like Master of Blades, which we can also use the mastery here to get the physical damage with skills that cost life as well. That way we have both, which is kind of nice. But as you can see, we're starting to get into like level 91 territory with our points spent. So, you know, that's fine. You can kind of pick and choose what things you want to get last. Jewel slot. I just have 6% max life because that's easy to get, but you'll have a better jewel than this for sure, very quickly. Duration. The duration's cool. So this is one thing that I really want to talk about. We're getting more skill effect duration. The reason why this is so nice is that basically we already have very high duration. So currently my Seismic Trap's duration is 7.11 seconds. I'm just going to throw one on the ground so you can really see how long these last. These last a very long time. That means you can keep the fight going. It's very good for like, you know, long, hard boss fights because you can make sure there are just a ton of them. But the 10% more is going to push that up to like 8 seconds, basically. It's going to give us 0.711 extra, so it'll be pretty close to 8 seconds as far as the duration. That's pretty big, especially considering it takes maybe like 1.5 seconds or so to recharge. Let's see, what's the cooldown? Okay, the cooldown rate is 2.86 seconds, so that means while you have your first 4 of these going, you're going to be able to get another 3 of them going, which is pretty big. You could have 7 going towards the tail end of that at the same time, which is really big. And as you can see with the increased AoE, it's kind of, they're all hitting in the center, they're converging, so you're getting the multiple hits. So overall, I would say that I wouldn't say that this build is in like the best place ever, because the loss of dodge and the change to blind is a definite nerf, but we'll have to see how good the additional evasion rating. You're going to be able to get a lot higher than 7,600 evasion in reality later on. So if you can get like 10, 11, 12,000, maybe with the new blind changes and even maybe with a little block and the spell suppression, maybe it'll feel pretty good, especially considering we now have even more recovery with Trap Master. And if you're running something like a Tinker Skin, which I would recommend, just because it is, you do get a lot of life when you trigger the traps, 100 life and 50 energy shield, and then you're going to be getting an additional 30. So 130 life per trap when you're throwing, you know, in between 3 and possibly 8 because of the new mastery traps at a time. That's a lot of life. You're going to be gaining thousands of life per second, especially if you're throwing a lot of traps per second. So, you know, current trap throw speed is pretty quick. So that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about. I'll put the POB in the description below if you want to run this build. I had such a smooth experience with it last league. I think it might be a little weaker now, but yeah, let me know if you do plan on running this, because I think it will still be viable. If not the best in the world, at least still viable. So this has been Ryan from Behind Eyes Gaming, and I will see you next time. Bye.